into the internet, into portable devices, into cell phones, and they certainly want to. You remember Bill Gates just last week at a big conference announced our big push is the internet now. We don't care so much about operating systems and applications. We're going for the internet.
Is this the biggest thing to happen, since the PC, or are we kind of overstating that?
It's a thing. Is it the biggest thing since computers started? No. I mean, this is definitely, it's important, but I don't think it's the most important thing.
The thing to underline here is that nothing has happened yet, and nothing will happen for some time. I mean, there's going to be an entire appeal process. It's my understanding it might be as long as 3 years before breakup, if anything happens. Steve Ballmer says there's not going to be a breakup. We're going to win on appeal. He might be right.
Well, things have happened. I mean, the stock has dropped precipitously, and it's still flopping around like a dead fish down there, somewhere around 70. That's true.
Other companies,
but they started it, remember?
Yeah.
And so certainly a lot has happened. I think a lot will happen. There'll be a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Not playing in Microsoft's favor, though, as it has for the past couple of years.
The thing to watch when we hear the judge's opinion in just a few minutes will be what kind of immediate remedies he's going to prescribe. He is expected to say, within the next 90 days, Microsoft has to do X, Y, and Z. It'll be interesting to see what he says they have to do, and then see what Microsoft complies. They haven't been very good on compliance so far.
I think they're going right back to the courts on that one, and they're going to try and get everything looked at all over again.
Let's do this. I think we're going to take a call. What did you say the caller's name was? We have a caller from Arkansas. I believe you said his name was Mark. I'm not sure. Are you with us? Can you hear us?
Justin.
Justin. Can you hear us, Justin?
Justin Thurman. Yes.
Okay, go ahead and ask us your question.
Will I still have the Windows ME?
The Windows what?
The Windows Millennium Edition?
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to stop that.
Yeah, Windows Millennium Edition is on the way. It's almost in beta, actually. We've seen preview copies of it. It's due out later this year, and I don't see it. That's on the roadmap. No problem.
Again, we'll have to wait and see what the judge says. I mean, it may not be business as usual. Not very much he'll stop ME, but you remember there was, for a moment, we thought they wouldn't be able to ship Windows 98 because of Internet Explorer and the tying issues just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, one thing he may say, and this is all speculation, he may say open source. You can release it, but give everybody the code so they can play around with it too. So you may see many versions of Windows ME, right?
And Microsoft, I guarantee you, if that's one of the things, Microsoft's going to say, well, wait a minute, we have to hold back the release because we've got to prepare this for open sourcing it. Microsoft is very capable of, and I think has done this in the past, almost blackmailing the computer industry and blackmailing the courts, saying, well, if that's how you want to play it, okay, but, and coming up with something that is not so nice. And it could conceivably be withholding something that consumers want, like the next edition of Windows.
Do you think we're going to see any big changes in how we buy and sell hardware and software?
Well, we're seeing those already, Danielle. It doesn't have anything to do with the court decision. The Internet clearly is a complete change in the way we do business.
Here's what I think we're going to see if, in fact, they get broken up into separate groups. We will see a lot less bundling of Office and Windows together. And I think we'll see a broader market. When you buy a PC, you'll see a lot of different applications, operating systems, and browsers that are available on your computer. So there's a lot more choice for the consumer.
All right. Speaking of consumers, we've got another caller. Adam from the Bronx. Are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead and ask your question, Adam.
Hey, guys. I was wondering, with Microsoft breaking up, what does this mean for the release of the Xbox?
I think the Xbox is just going to go right on ahead anyway. It's a gaming system. The interesting thing is which division does it go into, because it's part operating system, part hardware, part application. So there could be a little bit of confusion, but Microsoft has got to release that Xbox by sometime around August or September next year, or else it's worthless, because Nintendo, everybody will have bypassed them. So if they don't get out by next year, it's over.
Yeah. And remember, it's going to be at least a couple of years before any breakup happens. So the time frame between Xbox and the actual breakup, I don't think there's going to be a conflict.
Exactly.
So let's say, gentlemen, I want to go out and buy a computer right now. Should I wait? Are prices going to go down?
The prices always go down, and power always goes up. I would not wait. I don't see any reason to wait. Leah?
This court decision doesn't really impact consumers. It probably won't for some time to come.
I think that's a big thing. Consumers were worried about how it will affect them. You've answered a lot of those questions. We're going to join you again in just a few minutes as well, so thanks for being with us. And when we come back, more on our top story, the judge's ruling in the Microsoft Breakup case. Stay with us. You're watching ZDTV News.
Bob Vila tells homeowners how to get out from under credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Bob Vila, and these are offers to get credit cards. It's pretty easy to get them. Not so easy to get out from under the bills. How many credit card bills do you get each month? 3, 5, more? And how much interest are you paying? 16, 18%? Do you even know? And don't be fooled by introductory rates that only last a few months. You can eliminate those bills. You can stop paying that high interest. Here's how. Just call Home 123. The loan counselors at Home 123 will show you how to turn your high-interest credit card bills into one bill that's probably a lot less than you're paying now. And the interest even be tax-deductible, unlike credit card interest. Imagine just one bill a month and money left in your pocket. So, if you own your own home, call Home 123 right now and discover how to get rid of all those credit card bills. Call 1-800-HOME-123 or visit us on the web at home123.com. It's how to get the money you need.
Just imagine being linked to a source of information, to a global internet adventure. Now, there's a new television network, ZDTV, your home for entertainment, explaining the power of computers and the internet. ZDTV, amaze yourself.
Thanks for staying with us. We are now just a few minutes away from the judge's deadline for announcing his decision. And I'm going to bring it to you live, bring your reaction and everything else when that happens. But let's do this. Let's go ahead and recap our top story for you now. The court is expected to order Microsoft broken into two separate companies, one for its Windows operating system, the other for everything else. Microsoft has vowed to appeal, and the judge is likely to stay that order until that process has ended. As we've been telling you all afternoon, we're certainly going to stay with you and bring you the very latest. What we're going to do right now is take a short break, so please stay with us for live coverage of the judge's ruling.
I'm just about to do a trade, and then I get disconnected in the middle of it.
I just hate getting busy signals. It's so frustrating.
It takes so long for websites to load.
I have DSL, so I don't worry about that anymore.
We're all becoming increasingly dependent on the internet, and with slow dial-up connections, that can make the internet a pretty frustrating place to be. Hi, I'm Teresa Richardson, and on this edition of Digital Avenue, we'll show you how COVAD DSL is making the internet more enjoyable and productive.
COVAD DSL will substantially enhance your internet experience. That's because COVAD provides a dedicated, always-on connection to the internet that's 50 times faster than dial-up connections.
COVAD DSL allows you to get to the cool sites of the internet. Video streaming, downloading audio files, internet gaming, all of that is instantly available for COVAD DSL.
COVAD DSL allows you to experience the internet as it should be.
COVAD was first to offer DSL across the country, and we are the leading national provider of DSL service. COVAD also offers DSL to your home office and business. With a single COVAD DSL line, you can get up to T1 speeds for your entire office for about a quarter of the cost. That means faster file downloads, software downloads, and improvements in your productivity.
Many of our customers say that COVAD DSL is like instant gratification. What you're getting is this high-speed and always-on, immediate connection to the internet. Best of all, it's actually surprisingly affordable.
For more information on COVAD DSL service and to find out about a special COVAD DSL offer, just visit their website or call 877-417-6810.
All afternoon long, we've been following the Microsoft breakup proposal. Janet Yee has been following it for weeks for us now. She's in the newsroom with the very latest. Janet, what can you tell us this time?
Well, we know the gavel is about to come down, and the world is watching and waiting. Any moment now, Judge Thomas Penfield Jackson's remedy ruling for Microsoft's illegal monopoly behavior will be announced. Now, it's been just over 2 years since the initial filing. In that time, there's been a lot of mudslinging and a lot of speculation. The one thing is clear, the conclusion of law that came down a few months ago, well, it clearly lays out damning language, in very damning language, that the software giant did indeed squash its competition competition. In the beginning testimony from some well-known companies like Netscape, Apple, and Compaq, well, they indicated just how Microsoft has tried to bully tactics to keep its market share. All the while, Microsoft has maintained its products were simply better, and aggressive moves in the market are actually good for prices as well as innovation. Time to face the legal remedy, though it's just going to be in a few minutes. What will happen to Microsoft for its antitrust behavior, we will know, and Judge Thomas Penfield Jackson has promised a posting by 4:30 Eastern Time. Danielle?
And I was going to say, Janet, I know you've been talking to antitrust attorneys throughout this whole thing. What are they saying about all of this?
Well, you know, everybody's got a different opinion. There are some attorneys who speculate that the company, that the judge actually has just been dragging this on a bit and making the push for breakup just to get some more concessions out of Microsoft. There are others who believe that this is actually a very good thing, a breakup of this giant. And most people, though, the general consensus is this will go to the Court of Appeals or the Supreme Court. There is that provision should the justices take the case.
In any of the reports, have you been talking to consumers? And if so, what have they told you about all of this? That's where the bottom line is.
You know, you want to know, a lot of consumers just really don't have much to say about it. They like Microsoft products or they don't. They use them. They feel like they have plenty of options out there.
Janet Yee in the newsroom, we appreciate that report. We'll check back in with you in a bit. Thank you so much. So how would you have done if you bought Microsoft on the day it went public? Take a look at this. Its IPO price was $21 a share. Since then, it has split 8 times, increasing the number of shares and decreasing the value of share. If it had never split, it would cost you nearly $10,000 to buy a single share. We're going to go right to Janet Yee again in the newsroom. I think she has some other information for us. Janet.
We just got it in, Danielle. Microsoft will be looking into 2 companies, not 3, which was actually because of the delay a couple of weeks ago. 2 companies, one for applications, the other for operations. Now, this is going to be a big deal, and there's not a lot that we can tell you how it's going to be broken down. Will the campuses, both campuses, remain in Redmond, Washington State? There's going to be a huge fallout because of the economic ideal that Microsoft has brought to that relatively small community. And some of the restrictions we understand that are to be imposed have to take place within 90 days. Now, what I believe now is Microsoft will immediately go back into court. It does not want these restrictions. It will go and ask for a stay. Now, if that's granted, the restrictions will be put on hold, if you will. So now we know the decision. The official ruling is 2 companies, but we may actually wind up in a holding pattern by next week while the legal ramblings go on and on and on again.
Okay, Janet, we'll give you a couple minutes to look over all of that, and we'll check back in with you again. We want to let you at home know, if you have to leave your television set and you need the very latest on the Microsoft decision, we want you to go to ZDTVMews.com. There we have a special report on the antitrust case, and we'll have all the breaking news coming out of Washington, D.C. and Microsoft headquarters. Again, that is at ZDTVMews.com. I think what we're going to do now is take a break, gather ourselves, and be right back with more on the Microsoft decision. Please stay with us. You're watching ZDTV News.
Industry leaders talk tech and how it will affect the U.S. economy at the JEC High Tech Summit. Watch their speeches now at ZDTVnews.com.
Hello, I'm Mark John Jeffries, and I'm here to talk with you about People PC. What is People PC, you ask? It's simple. 1, a new brand name PC replaced every 3 years. 2, unlimited internet. 3, in-home service. Yep, if all else fails, they come to you. 4, great deals on stuff you like from places you know. All for $24.95 a month. That's it. Let's review. For about the cost of internet service alone over here, you get unlimited internet, a new computer, in-home service, and great deals over here. All for $24.95 a month. How? Strength in numbers, my friends. Folks, I'm Mark John Jeffries for People PC. Thank you, and God bless.
When my daughter, Janie, went off to college, it was hard on the whole family. Especially CJ. They were so close. Now Janie lives across the country, but with MCI 5 cents every day, we can talk like she's still at home. With MCI, our long-distance calls are just 5 cents a minute every evening and all weekend long, and only 7 cents a minute the rest of the time.
Hello, Jamie? It's Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Call now to sign up for MCI 5 cents every day and get a low 5 cents a minute rate every evening and all weekend long, and just 7 cents the rest of the time, so you can save every day.
Listen, CJ really misses you.
Oh, I miss him too. Let me talk to him.
Okay, here he is.
CJ? How you doing, boy?
Call 1-800-549-7912 today to sign up and get 120 minutes of free calls when you pay with a credit card.
It is now official. Microsoft will be broken into 2 parts. The ruling came down just a couple of minutes ago by Judge Thomas Penfield Jackson. We're going to get you out to our newsroom once again, where Janet Yee standing by. Janet, you're going to be talking to an antitrust attorney, Lars Liebler.
That's right. First, I want to tell you right now that Joel Klein has just moments ago come up with a statement. He says that this is the right remedy. And included in the remedy, it says here, it will mandate both conduct modification from Microsoft and structural reorganization. Now, we already told you a few moments ago that means 2 companies. With us live in Washington, D.C. is antitrust attorney Lars Liebler. Lars, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey, Lars, first of all, let me get your opinion on this ruling.
Sure. Well, it was expected, obviously. When the judge really tipped his hand over the last couple of weeks when he had the hearing on remedies, and we really almost embraced the concept of breaking the company into 3 parts. And really didn't let Microsoft put on much proof, any proof at all, as a matter of fact, about what the consequences would be for a 2-part or a 3-part breakup. So I think everybody expected there would be a break. There were no surprises here today.
Now, Lars, what's next? I've heard that Microsoft will march itself into the court and ask for a stay.
Well, I think that for the conduct remedies, which would go into effect immediately, they will go to the Court of Appeals. They'll ask the district court for a stay of those remedies until they can bring this up in front of the Court of Appeals. So they've got some appellate avenues open to them, and it's unclear how quickly the process, at least on the conduct remedies, would affect their conduct immediately, how quickly that'll go. The bigger question about whether they're going to be broken into 2 parts or not, that's going to be tied up in the courts for some time, whether it's in the Supreme Court or the Court of Appeals. That's going to take a long time to sort out.
Now, Lars, Microsoft has said all along it will appeal any decision, so we certainly are expecting that. The appeal process, whether it goes to the appellate court or the U.S. Supreme Court, what kind of time factor are we talking here?
Well, we're talking on a magnitude of years, not months. Even if it went directly to the Supreme Court as quickly as it possibly could without any barriers to it, it would really take at least a year, and it's more likely more than that, maybe a year and a half. But it's unclear whether the Supreme Court is going to take this case right away. They've got the discretion to take it, and they may not do it. They may say that it's appropriate for the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals to hear this case first. And if, no matter what the result from that court, it's likely that one or both parties may then again attempt to appeal to the Supreme Court. So we're talking a long period of time before this gets resolved, if it goes the full distance.
You know, Lars, there's sort of two speeds here. The speed of which the legal process takes and the speed of which high technology moves along. They're obviously at opposite ends of the spectrum. Everything can change in technology in a few years.
Well, that's true. There really is a disconnect. And, I mean, the courts do a pretty good job of trying to sort through things, but the technology changes so quickly, and market leaders are displaced. There's new technology that comes out. We've all seen, of course, the shift to the Internet that's occurred over the last few months or year or so, and it's made the significance of Microsoft's market share in the operating system not nearly as significant as it was before. And so by the time this case finally gets resolved in the Court of Appeals or Supreme Court, we could be looking at a totally different landscape again. And so it really is a difficult case for the courts to handle, and a difficult case for justice to handle, for the Department of Justice to handle, for that reason. It really may almost be irrelevant by the time that the courts finally decide this case.
Hey, Lars, is there a benefit in this case for it to go directly to the Supreme Court? because as you know, as some people probably remember, the last time Microsoft was in this kind of trouble, I think in 1998, the appellate court overruled Judge Jackson.
Well, they did. There was a consent order that was originally entered into, and then there was a motion by the Department of Justice to hold Microsoft in contempt, and the Court of Appeals overturned Judge Jackson's finding on that contempt citation and really gave an indication of what they thought, an antitrust perspective, about the linking of the browser and the operating system, and they thought it was okay. Now, would it speed things along if the eventual resolution would go directly to the Supreme Court? Yes, of course, because it's the highest court of the land, but whether it's appropriate from a legal basis to go there or not is really up to the Supreme Court. So to answer your question, it would end the case sooner if it did go to the Supreme Court, but I'm not sure they're necessarily going to take it.
Now, Lars, we know you also deal with CompTIA, that's the Computing Technology Association. So you must have a finger on the pulse of the industry. What would the fallout of a breakup be?
Well, there are an incredible number of companies and people in the industry who take cues, if not, work on complementary products to what Microsoft is doing. When there's uncertainty in the marketplace like this, even amongst the people who really don't like Microsoft, it throws everybody into a little bit of a hesitation about what they're going to do next. I think it's easy to see that if there's a possibility of a breakup, and now the order is out, and so of course there is a possibility, that a lot of companies are going to be careful about their research and development and the products they're going to develop because they're not sure exactly what's going to happen. That uncertainty is going to cause sort of the market in some areas to sort of slow down as far as the pace of innovation because there's a great deal of uncertainty.
All right, thanks very much. That's antitrust attorney Lars Liebler, based in Washington, D.C. Danielle, we now know Microsoft will be broken into two companies with a number of restrictions put on its behavior. Likely Microsoft will go back to court, ask for a stay. As for whether it will go to the appellate court or the Supreme Court, we don't know.
Great hustle, Janet E. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. We also want to let you at home know that coming up, we're going to have reaction from Joel Klein and Microsoft Reaction. Later in our show, please stay with us. You're watching a very special edition of ZDTV News.
Answers to all of your tech questions.
Coming up on the next call for help, are you one of those people who's got trouble being organized like me? You know, you buy an organizer to solve all your problems. You never use it, like me. Maybe the answer's on the web. They've got a whole raft of new personal information managers on the website. We tried a few. We'll show you which ones work and which ones don't.
Call for help live tonight at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, only on ZDTV.
Hey, I'm looking for a digital camera that stores images on a mem stick. Hey, do you know where I can find one of those digital... Excuse me. What did he say? Never mind. Which digital camcorder lets me shoot standard 8mm tape?
This your car?
What's the easiest way to email my photos?
No email, hot dog.
No digital camera.
What do I look like, a camera salesman?
Got questions about digital imaging? Ask somebody who knows. Sony. Call and get your free Sony digital imaging guide. It'll tell you all you need to know about digital imaging. You'll even get a personalized recommendation on which products are best for you.
Which digital camcorder shoots at night?
Find out how Sony's digital cameras and camcorders let you capture, edit, and share your life like never before.
Megapixels. Yeah, megapixels.
So call now for your customized guide and get a password to Sony's members-only website.
Thought I told you to move along.
Call 1-877-741-SONY for your free guide.
Okay, welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. Jim Louderback, Leo Laporte, Alex Wellen here now to help us figure out what all this means and what might happen next. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Let's get each of your thoughts on the judge's ruling, first of all.
I'll start right in. No, nothing really different from what we thought. I mean, this is what they've been talking about for a while, breaking them up in two different groups, one for the applications, one for the operating system. The appeals process is in place, and basically nothing's going to happen for a couple years, I think.
Alex?
Yeah, I think this is exactly what should happen. I think that we've been looking for a decision for a while. We need something to happen, and this is going to kick our competition. The notion that consumers have not heard or we haven't been able to quantify that, I just don't buy it. I think that a lot of the problem really is that much of what has happened is hypothetical, and consumers just don't know what they're missing. So, you know, I've always been an advocate of the antitrust laws, why they exist, and why the government brought the suit.
And so how do you feel consumers will be hurt?
Well, I think that consumers have been hurt. I don't think that they've had the best products. The best place for me to speak is on security. Security is a wreck on the Microsoft Windows products. They don't care in many ways. I mean, I was just talking to the Computer Security Institute, and they were indicating all the problems with the security software, and that's their approach in business too. They just are very, very aggressive. They bully people around. They're predatory, and as a result, we need something to happen so that at least consumers can make the choice. If they keep picking Microsoft because that's the best product, even though it has problems, I'm fine with that. So.
I'm kind of surprised that it was such an out-and-out victory for the Department of Justice. I mean, it basically, it says, we have right here the 13-page final judgment. Plaintiffs won. They get to decide what happens. This is what they're asking for. It's theirs. Is that because Microsoft did such a bad job, I wonder, in defending this case?
Well, they did a bad job, but you have to admit they've been pretty bad for a long time, and there's a lot of good evidence coming out. I think even if Microsoft did the best job possible, they still would have had a similar judgment because, let's face it, you've covered the industry for a while. We've seen it. Microsoft Office shows up on every system that you buy. Internet Explorer is on everything. It's obvious that there's been a bundling. It's obvious that they've abused the monopoly power.
Because consumers don't get it. I mean, I think that's what you were addressing.
I think
that consumers say, well, where's the harm? I'm happy. Prices have fallen. The computer industry is better than ever. My computer's more powerful than ever. And thanks to Microsoft, there's a unified standard. Consumers, and if you poll them, I think it's probably 80 or 90% say, what's the matter? There's no problem here. Why are we doing this? And they're very afraid of what the next few years will bring.
Part of that might be, too, they may not completely understand exactly what's going on with this as well. It gets pretty technical.
They don't know what they're missing. I think that's a very good point.
None of us do, though. It's all hypothetical. I mean, we're all saying, we presume this is what the law is. You know, there's the friend of the court brief that came from, I think it was what was the consumer, the applications industry, it was basically Sun and Netscape and a bunch of other smaller players, said that we can show that there's been damage to consumers for every hour lost because of a crashed computer is further proof that Microsoft just hasn't had the competition to make a crash-proof operating system.
Right.
But I don't know if the competition would have made a crash-proof operating system.
And that's fine, but let's let that play itself out. And what we have to do is change the rules now, change it so at least we can see what would happen and give opportunity, remove the barriers to entry so that viruses alone, I mean, look at the viruses on the Mac or Linux compared to Microsoft.
Well,
we're talking at tens and
tens. Let me play the devil's advocate there, because they're small, less dominant platforms. People are going to write a virus for the most dominant platform. It doesn't mean they can't be written or that they're more secure. It means that it's going to go after the victims with the largest number.
And we're getting viruses written for phones now anyway, so it's not the only place.
But I agree.
But to talk about, for consumers for a minute, an area where there has been some good competition and choice is in the game console platform. And we've got Nintendo, we've got Sega, we've got PlayStation, to going at each other and coming out with really, really good products that are leapfrogging each other. They're doing great things. And so that's where I think if you have good competition, you may end up with some very robust companies building great stuff for consumers.
And Jim, what we've also learned, too, is that just changing their conduct and restraining them in certain ways has not worked. It just doesn't work with Microsoft. They don't care. 1995, consent decree comes down, and now all this conduct, their worst conduct, is after the fact.
Yeah. It's ingrained in their psyche, in their DNA.
Right.
Well, they don't think they've done anything wrong, and they still continue doing business as usual.
But I think they've been better lately. And I think they're trying to repair it in the last year or two, now that they've been under the microscope. But you know, you still have to right the wrong.
The most important issue here is that the playing field is changing. The Internet has changed everything. And I think it's legitimate for the court to say, whatever has happened in the past, we don't want Microsoft to take its existing dominance and move it into the Internet. The Internet needs to be a free and open playing field. And I think in that sense, this has been a good decision.
Yeah, but that was not going to happen anyway.
Well,
Microsoft has not been powerful in the other platforms on the Internet, the cell phones and other
Certainly they
areas.
want to be, and they're attempting to leverage their dominance there. I mean, Windows Explorer, the tying issue is, if you bundle your browser and you put proprietary extensions in it, and then you make sure it's the dominant browser, at that point Microsoft can say, do it our way or the highway.
But that's not a PC, and I still think that the devices that we use to access the Internet in 5 years, only about 10% of them will be PCs, if not less. Cell phones.
Well, you're arguing against the need for this decision. Then.
Yes, I am.
You're saying it didn't have to happen.
I think it's happening because of what happened in the past, rather than what's going on in the future. And I believe that it is too late.
Let's do this. Let's get another voice on this. We've got a caller, Don in New York. Don, are you there? Don in New York, are you with us? No, Don in New York. Let's continue our discussion then. If Bill Gates has to pick a half to run, what does he do?
That's a good question.
Which I think he goes over to the application side because that's where the development tools go.
And that's the growth, frankly.
Right. And Bill Gates has always been involved in development. I mean, he wrote BASIC years ago for...
There's an interesting point here because it's not just Bill Gates, it's the entire brain trust of the company. Where do they go? You've got one company divided in two. There's going to be a kind of parting of the Red Sea. And I think you're right. I think Bill Gates will go to applications, and I think all the smartest people from Microsoft will go to applications. They're going to say the hegemony of Windows is over. It's no longer the dominant operating system. The growth is going to be in applications. And in a way, this may completely accelerate the death of Windows, maybe artificially, maybe inappropriately.
And then see it pop up on Internet Explorer, though, because that may very well be the new platform or something like that, where you have a browser.
But this is an example of unintended consequences.
This is what you've been saying for a while. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, no. Here's a good example of of what I think is going to happen. That the operating system division will become like Windows dial tone, where they'll be. Remember, AT&T broke up. The local bells just provided local access. It wasn't a very innovative business. That's what the operating system business will become. Whereas the application business, they'll be able to innovate. They'll be able to do things like Lucid did, AT&T Labs, do lots of great stuff, and that's where all the good people will go.
10 years from now, we'll be here sitting here, a little grayer, and what we'll be talking about is the Bill Gates Microsoft application division, basically creating an operating system and around the court, creating an application or a browser or something that is so close to an operating system that in effect they've reunited Microsoft.
What I will add, though, is I will feel a lot better about that because at least they'll have 10 years, they'll have been broken up like AT&T and IBM. They've continued to persevere, and we'll have a scenario where competition went head-to-head with the applications, and we'll see who wins. And that's the way it's supposed to work.
Of course, this thing says in 10 years they can buy the operating system company all over again. So.
We've got just 30 seconds, and I do want to get this question out there. How much of Bill Gates' personality has driven the defense thus far?
100%. Don't you agree? I mean, what you've seen is a retrenching, a complete denial that there's anything gone wrong. This is Bill Gates in spades. I'm sure he got legal counsel saying, Bill, you gotta soften it up. Gotta be a little bit. Let's give him a little bit. And Bill, I know every step of the way saying, no, we've done nothing wrong. We're going to continue doing nothing wrong. We're in the right here.
Yeah, exactly. Bill Gates is saying, this is my company. You are not messing with the company, and I'm going to run it the way I want to. And the government's saying,
and he's in denial up till this point too. I don't think he's.
If Balmer says we're going to win an appeal, there's nothing to worry about.
All right, and our director is saying we've got to take a break. Stay with us. You're watching a very special edition of ZDTV News. We'll be right back in just a couple of minutes.
ZDTV, amaze yourself.
When he took apart my drill just to see how it worked, he made me mad. When he built his first radio to contact life on other planets, he made me laugh. He picked electronics as a career, made me think. When he graduated from ITT Tech, he made me proud.
For an informative brochure, call ITT Tech at 1-800-942-0099. That's 1-800-942-0099.
I can always tell when I'm in New York.
You're like the ultimate guy.
Don't smile at me, Davis. I hate that.
You've got to beat the best.
You're in the zone.
To be the best. For love of the game.
Playing this month on Direct Ticket Pay-Per-View. We won the war.
Oh, we shoot people who won!
Now it's time to take home the spoils. And a score this huge.
You're talking about millions.
Needs a suit big enough to handle it all. The letterbox Dolby digital presentation of Three Kings.
If you leave us, we are dead.
With widescreen, you won't miss a thing.
We can help these people and they'll be on our way.
George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg, Ice Cube. The letterbox Dolby digital presentation of Three Kings. Now paying a Direct Ticket Pay-Per-View.
You clicked the winner. The Big Idea, the online show where you play along live today at ZDTV.com.
You know, this morning we spoke with high-tech workers in San Francisco about their feelings on the breakup of Microsoft. A lot of them came straight to the defense of Chairman Bill Gates, and the reaction to baby bills was mixed.
I think what he did was incredible. I never agreed with what government had done to begin with, because he worked very hard to get where he was and where the company is. And it's not the technology or the industry's fault that he could predict where it was going.
I don't think it's going to be true for the entire industry, but as a company, I see no way other way to stop them from doing what they're doing. So one, it's good that they're not that powerful, but in another, the consumer might be hurt.
Two companies would be fine. Half of them go to Canada, half of them can stay in Washington.
Everyone else is trying to monopolize the company. I think he took it, he worked it and willed it the way he wanted to do it, and now everyone's trying to come to him and say, look, you gotta give us a chance to get in there, or you need to drop back and give us some room. I don't think so. This is America. It's the First Amendment. He found it, he's working with it, and he's taking it all the way out of town.
Came out a little early on that one. Joining us on the phone is the Silicon Valley Bureau Chief from Forbes magazine, Elizabeth Cochran. Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
You recently interviewed Bill Gates. How do you think he's feeling about all of this today?
This is not a happy day for Bill. I think that there's probably only one other issue for him that's ever been this emotional, this traumatic, and that was a very personal thing having to do with his family. This is a very, very difficult time and a difficult day, and I think he feels, my guess is he feels frustrated, angry, and probably a little confused about why the government seems to be penalizing him for doing what he felt was, some great things for the industry.
How much of Bill Gates' life would you say is tied up in Microsoft? Do you think he really takes this personally?
Absolutely. I mean, much as we in Silicon Valley think about startups all the time, and we talk about how people work non-stop and that it's their family and so forth. I mean, this was a startup for him. It's a very big company now, but it is his company, and there's nothing. There's no part of his life that Microsoft, the company, doesn't touch. There's nothing really, it is completely personal to him. And even though it's a very big company, he embodies much of what the company is about. We saw in the trial the government using him as a real focal point for some of their sharpest criticisms. So absolutely, I'm sure he's taking it personally and feels that this is a really difficult time for him.
Okay, Elizabeth, we've got Leo Laporte with us as well. He's got a question for you also.
Hi, Elizabeth. I'm just wondering if Bill's indicated which of the two companies he'd choose if he had to.
I would be willing to bet he isn't even framing the question that way. He truly believes that the company has done nothing wrong. He feels, I think at this point, that he still has option the judicial system through the appeals court of appeals, or ultimately to the Supreme Court. So, in a sense, it would be like asking a parent, which half of the child you like to take home with you. I don't think that he has framed that question. I don't think he's even tried to answer that question for himself, because I don't think he truly thinks it will have to come to that. I'm sure he still feels that there are options in the appeals route that are open to Microsoft.
Don't you think, though, that some part of Microsoft must be thinking about what they're going to do when the split happens, or if the split happens?
I'm sure that there are some parts of Microsoft that have to be starting to think about this. Obviously, the legal departments have to think about this. Perhaps Steve Ballmer, who's both a close personal friend as well as obviously now CEO of the company, has got to be grappling with this and thinking about what kinds of contingency plans. In terms of Bill Gates himself, I think that it's a very difficult thing.
Elizabeth, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt you. We're going to go live now to Jan Reno, and she has a reaction on all of this. Let's listen to what she has to say.
I'm pleased that the court has ordered a strong, effective remedy to address the serious antitrust violations that Microsoft has committed. The court's remedy strikes the right balance. The structural remedy will stimulate competition that will have a lasting impact on this important industry, and the interim conduct relief will ensure that Microsoft cannot break the law while the structural provisions are taking effect. Today's ruling will have a profound impact not only by promoting competition in the software industry, but also by reaffirming the importance of antitrust law enforcement in the 21st century and the importance of competition. I am so very proud of all the hard work and efforts of this team, with the remarkable trial work of David Boies and Phil Malone, all the other attorneys from the San Francisco field office, the paralegals, the computer technicians, and others. Joel, your team has demonstrated once again that the Department of Justice can meet any challenge in discharging our duties to enforce the law, and it's a good feeling. Your efforts will protect competition and ensure that consumers have more choices and improved products in the marketplace. I also want to tell the Attorneys General how happy I am you are here today. Tom Miller and Dick Blumenthal are representing the State Attorneys General who have worked so well and so tirelessly on this case. The cooperation of federal and state law enforcement has been superb. And Joel, thank you for your leadership, your vision, your absolute determination, which have provided the American people with an outstanding example of the legal system at its best. Joel?
Good afternoon. First, let me thank you, Attorney General Reno, for your comments and for your unwavering support and leadership throughout this entire case. The court's order today is the right remedy for Microsoft's serious and repeat violations of the antitrust laws. It will stimulate competition in the PC operating system market and throughout the entire computer industry. When the remedy is implemented, and this is the key point, customers, consumers in a free and competitive marketplace will decide for themselves what software they want to purchase. Neither a monopolist nor the government will dictate that choice. The court had an extraordinary record upon which to enter today's order. Judge Jackson had this case before him for more than 2 years. He heard all the testimony and arguments and reviewed thousands and thousands of documents during a 78-day trial. He carefully weighed the evidence and made extraordinarily detailed findings of fact. He analyzed the legal precedents and issued lengthy conclusions of law. He found that Microsoft had repeatedly abused its monopoly power and violated the law by crushing emerging threats to Windows dominance, and specifically by increasing the barriers to entry into the PC operating system market. The remedy the court ordered, breaking Microsoft into an operating systems company and an applications company, is fair and it's measured. Indeed, it directly flows from the extensive findings and legal conclusions that the court had previously entered. That's what the law requires, and that's what Judge Jackson did. Sustained abuse of monopoly power is among the most serious and most damaging of all antitrust violations, since it eliminates the competition that creates innovation and choice in the marketplace. Microsoft repeatedly used its operating system monopoly to eliminate threats posed by cross-platform software products. Cross-platform products that would have essentially allowed other operating systems to compete with Windows. The divestiture will give the applications company every incentive to develop precisely those kinds of cross-platform products on its own, and to make the key Office productivity suite available for other operating systems. All of this will stimulate competition and innovation. And the interim restrictions in the operating systems company are needed to permit competition to emerge. They are narrowly tailored to prohibit Microsoft from repeating past illegal actions. And 3 years after divestiture is implemented, all of the interim conduct provisions will terminate. All that will remain are provisions to stop the two companies from colluding with one another. By then, competition, not regulation, will limit Microsoft's power to thwart innovation. To the divestiture, I expect both companies will be vibrant, strong, and successful firms. Each will be free to create new, exciting products, and they will have every incentive to compete vigorously with one another and with others in this industry. That competition will benefit America's consumers and the entire economy. I'm very proud of the Antitrust Division for the extraordinary work done by our entire team in assembling the evidence, presenting it to the court, and preparing and submitting our remedy. These people, starting with David Boies and Phil Malone, and David unfortunately could not be here today because he has trial proceeding in Florida. These people have demonstrated a fact that is forgotten all too frequently today, and that is that government service can be a noble calling in which dedicated men and women work hard, usually with little or no recognition, to enforce our country's laws and to protect the public interest. America is in their debt. I also want to pay tribute to my friends, Attorney General Tom Miller and Dick Blumenthal, and their colleagues in the states. They, too, are dedicated public servants. We have worked well together to enforce the laws over these many months. And in closing, I want to stress that Microsoft itself is responsible for where things stand today. Its repeated illegal actions were the results of decisions made at the highest levels of the company over a lengthy and sustained period of time. They reflected defiance of, not respect for, the rule of law. Today's decision marks an important step in redressing the serious effects of Microsoft's illegal actions and requiring the company to obey the law. Tom, it's my pleasure to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Joel. And of course, I want to start by paying tribute and acknowledging extraordinary courage and incredible work by Attorney General Reno, and Attorney General Joel Klein, legendary David Boies, incredibly hardworking Phil Malone, and everybody else on the federal team. They were a great team. And I also want to acknowledge my 18 colleagues and their staffs in the states. They're a terrific team, too. I want to particularly mention two people. They were our lead counsels during this 2-year period, Steve Houck from New York and Kevin O'Connor of Wisconsin. Together, as the judge referred in his opinion, the collective effort of the senior officials at the Department of Justice in 19 states brought forward a good product. We worked hard. I believe worked in the public interest, and I believe we did our best. Today's opinion, today's order by Judge Jackson, I believe is strong, but yet fair and measured. And that combination, strong, fair, and measured, produces a good remedy. It's strong because it does break up the company into two companies. It's strong in certain aspects of the conduct relief, but yet it's fair. It's fair for a number of reasons. Let me mention two. One is Microsoft had a lot of warning. They had the FTC proceeding, they had the consent decree proceeding, and then as Judge Jackson found, in spite of that, they had repeated serious violations. The other reason it's fair is because what the evidence showed, that Microsoft, when they were confronted with important and perhaps difficult competition, resort was to their monopoly. To use that in an illegal way, to maintain that monopoly, or to use in other ways. It was not reaching for better product or for innovation. It was reaching for the crutch, that illegal crutch. So it's fair in that situation. And it's measured because, as was discussed in the May 24th hearing, it could have been more, it could have been stronger, Could have been 3 companies. It could have been broken up into the baby bills. This is the least intrusive of the divestitures that are possible. And that has 2 important consequences. It's measured qualities. One is that the question of compatibility that some consumers rightly are very concerned about is not put in jeopardy. And secondly, it maintains the highest possible shareholder value, probably increased shareholder value in the opinion of many experts. Looked at the Wall Street Journal yesterday and showed what happened to AT&T when it was broken up and the enormous increase in shareholder value. That potential is here as well. And it's the right remedy because of those qualities: strong, fair, and measured. Right for consumers. Consumers always benefit by competition. They never benefit by monopoly. Consumers, most of all, will have greater choice. They'll have additional products. They may pay lower prices. They probably will have better service. Classic economics. It's classic antitrust law. And it's the right remedy for innovation. When Microsoft has to compete by innovating rather than reaching for its crutch of the monopoly, it will innovate more. We'll have to innovate more. And the others will be free to innovate. A decision said there are certain areas Microsoft stakes out with its monopoly, and you cannot succeed there. You cannot innovate. That will change. We'll have greater innovation. And this is the right remedy for respect of law. That above all else, attorney generals of this country enforce the law. The law needed to be enforced here. Nobody is above the law. No matter how powerful or how rich or how successful, nobody is above the law. In this case, in this decision, says that very strongly. The right decision. Right for consumers, right for innovation, right for the law. Strong but fair and measured. This is the best we could do. I believe we did what we thought was right.
All right, you heard it there. We heard from the Department of Justice. Janet Reno talking about obviously how happy she is with the judge's decision. We also heard from Joe Klein, DOJ attorney. Let me tell you a little bit about what he said, and then we can react to it. He said this will stimulate competition in the PC marketplace as well as the entire industry. He said consumers will decide what software they want to purchase. He said the remedies breaking up the company into 2 parts, operations and applications, is fair. He also called Microsoft an abuse of monopoly power. Reactions to what they had to say.
Well, it's nothing new. I mean, this is the drumbeat that the federal government and the attorneys general have been pounding on for the last 2 years, and they're just now declaring victory. But it's far from over, I would say.
Oh yeah. You know what I think most interesting about this, and I was just up looking at what Bill Gates had to say because he posted his statement.
Let's talk a little bit about that because you said
it amazed me. I mean, he's saying things in here about Microsoft is very pleased the appeals process has begun. We have a very strong appeal. Microsoft has an incredible team of developers. The team is stay intact as we tackle new frontiers. Microsoft feels we have a very strong case on appeal. It's important we stay focused on building great software. Nothing is going to change at Microsoft now until the appeals process is over. After reading what Thomas Penfield Jackson had to say, and after reading what Bill Gates had to say, I think this is very much a personal issue.
It sure looks like it.
It's Gates versus Jackson. It's a shootout. Okay. Corral in Washington.
Now, Alex was pointing out that Bill might have a point there, that the appellate court is, in fact, a little bit more pro-Microsoft. Is that the case, Alex?
What, that the appellate court is? Well, we saw with the prior case, and there were a variety of different decisions, that they did favor the Court of Appeals. That is Microsoft. But now the question is, what will happen for either party? Microsoft will appeal, and they will go to the Court of Appeals because that's where they've had the most success. But essentially, the government may try to leapfrog and go right to the Supreme Court.
And no one knows. I mean, we don't know what the Supreme Court would do. They've not ruled on anything even remotely touching this case.
Right. So we haven't seen where they stand on this. And then when it goes to the Court of Appeals, there are a few different things. The standard of law, it varies. But the facts, they're supposed to look at the facts in light of the non-moving party. So that means that they would look at the facts in favor of the government. But with the law, they could look at the law at a completely different and from a completely different perspective. And they may very well decide that everything that they did on the facts is legal.
Hey, Alex, what happened with the AT&T breakup? Did that go to the Supreme Court? Did it go to the appellate court?
No, I don't No, I know that there were a variety of appeals at that point, but we see that AT&T has survived it in the end.
They thrived. I mean,
you talked a little bit about what Bill Gates had to say. We saw it online. We've got some reaction from Microsoft right now. Let's go to that.
In Washington, D.C. Joining me on stage is Microsoft's chairman and chief software architect, Bill Gates, as well as a number of other executives, and we'll hear from Bill Newcomb in terms of a Q&A after Bill Gates makes some remarks, as well as entertains questions. Now, our president and CEO, Steve Ballmer, has been in Europe all week, visiting with customers on a long-planned trip. We've been in communication, and he will participate actively in terms of our internal communications and external interaction over the next day or two in regard to the activities of today. Let's begin first with Bill, but before I do, I should mention that those on the teleconference can remain on the phone after this. Bill Newcomb and I will entertain questions, so you can just stay on the line, and we'll move to an audio format after this event. With that, I'll turn it over to Bill Gates. Bill?
Thanks, Bob. Well, I'm reminded of the old saying that today is the first day of the rest of your life. I believe very strongly that today is the first day of the rest of this case. The central issue here is a disagreement between ourselves and the Department of Justice over whether we should have been allowed to support the Internet inside Microsoft Windows. Our inclusion of that support in an integrated way did nothing to exclude Netscape or any other competitor from distributing and improving their technology. In fact, as the court found, Netscape distributed over 160 million copies of its browser in 1998 alone. The government's position here on the specific of the browser and on the general question of improving products really flies in the face of the kind of improvements that have benefited consumers from innovation coming out of the technology industry. So today's ruling really represents an unwarranted and unjustified intrusion into the software marketplace, a marketplace that has been an engine of economic growth for America. This ruling would provide that the Internet and support in Windows could never be enhanced. It could never be updated to new standards, whether they relate to privacy or XML or any other consumer needs. This ruling says to creators of intellectual property that the government can take away what you've created if it turns out to be too popular. We will be exercising our right to appeal this decision, and we're confident the judicial system will overturn today's ruling. We will also seek a stay of this order so the appeal can move forward without any unnecessary harm to Microsoft and to consumers through the delay or interference with our work on new products. I want to make it clear that the Microsoft team worked very hard to try and settle the issues in this case without the need for additional litigation. I also want to make sure that people understand that during the appeal, we'll continue to do what we do best, which is building new software. We have many reasons to be confident in our appeal. For example, the ruling is directly inconsistent, as the district court acknowledges, with the appeals court ruling on exactly this topic that was made earlier. Also, it's an unreasonable thing to call the breakup Microsoft and create these regulatory provisions about how software should be defined. I also think if you just step back from this and look at the paradigm shifts taking place today and the very intense competition in our business, what's being said today flies in the face of the innovation and low prices that consumers are seeing every day. Low prices that really arise out of the PC industry and the values that we brought as one of the companies that really fostered the the entire PC phenomena. So we have strong legal, factual, and procedural arguments. The court adopted the government's plan to break up and regulate Microsoft without a single day of testimony. Microsoft asked for a reasonable opportunity to respond to the government's unprecedented plan, but we were denied that right. Here at Microsoft, we've assembled a world-class team. For 25 years, that team has brought widespread benefits to the economy and to consumers. We have very exciting plans for that team, including things like a breakthrough user interface that involves handwriting and speech recognition. These are efforts that can only be done by a large company with a total focus on taking its R&D and moving those into products. Keeping our team together as one Microsoft is critical to our efforts. The values that have guided our efforts throughout our entire history include competing hard, but competing fairly, listening to customers and innovating to meet their needs, and partnering with literally thousands of companies in the hardware, software, and services businesses to make our vision of low-cost computing a reality, and a reality that has moved forward faster than any sector of the economy. We've got a lot of great new ideas and great new products we're working on for the months and years ahead. In particular, we're very excited about the vision of a next generation of services delivered through the Internet. The Internet, as powerful as it is today, can be made easier and far more effective for both consumers and businesses. We recognize that as an industry leader, we have grave responsibilities in working inside our business, and we accept that. While we disagree with the government on this specific issue, I want to make clear that we respect the role of government in our legal and economic system. And we will, of course, abide by any final judgments reached in this case. We continue to work on a very positive basis with federal and state officials. In fact, just yesterday I was in Washington, D.C., discussing with a great number of legislators issues like improving technology and education, bridging the digital divide, and important legislation like the upcoming digital signature bill. So in conclusion, today is the start of a new phase of this case, a phase where we'll get review by a higher court. We're confident that the courts will overturn what's happened at the district level. And as the legal team works to resolve this, we're going to focus our energy on building great software for all our customers. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back. We were just chatting about what's going on here, and we were also talking about the fact that the DOJ was doing just a little bit of chest beating before. Well, obviously it's spin control for Microsoft now. You just heard from Bill Gates. Let me tell you a little bit about what he said. Of course, they were smiling. He also said he is reminded that today is the first day of the rest of your life. He said that means today is the first day of the rest of this case. We'll see how that goes. He also says Microsoft was not a competitor. He says they will appeal. He also spoke specifically to consumers. He's feeling pretty confident that public opinion is on his side. But to recap what's been going on, Judge Thomas Penfield Jackson has ruled Microsoft to be broken into, spin control going on in Microsoft camp. We'll certainly have more on all of this. Please stay with us. You're watching a very special edition of ZDTV News. We can continue our discussion.
Industry leaders talk tech and how it will affect the U.S. economy at the JEC High Tech Summit. Watch their speeches now at ZDTnews.com.
The family computer. It's hard to imagine a day without it, which is why more people are putting their trust in Dell, the company awarded for Best PC Reliability and Service 6 years in a row.
Computer tree.
When you order a Dell Dimension desktop with an Intel Pentium 3 processor for $899,
I guess I'll go wash windows.
Dell provides you with online training. And of course, you'll also get Dell's lifetime 24/7 phone and online support. If you need more help in your first year of ownership, Dell will even send a repair technician to your home. Dell service and support helps get the most out of your PC. That is, when you can get on it. Call now to own a complete Dell Dimensity system with an Intel Pentium 3 processor and everything you see here for only $899. At a price that low, order two. Then you're sure to get some time online.
Daddy.
Hey, sweetheart.
Who's got the $50,000 idea? You decide. Presenting The Big Idea, the online game show where you pick the winner live. Log on today. Watch contestants give their big e-business pitch, ask them questions live, then vote. The greatest idea would win $50,000. The Big Idea. Play along live. Today at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. Online at ZDTV.com/thebigidea.
Okay, thank you so much for staying with us. What we're going to do now is get you right back to our newsroom again. Janet Yee's been there all afternoon for us. She's there for us now with a recap. Janet.
Thanks, Danielle. Yeah, let's recap the story as unfolded throughout the afternoon. The judge has issued his decision in the Microsoft case. Now, as expected, the U.S. District Court Judge Thomas Penfield Jackson wants the company split into two parts. One would own the Windows operating system, the other all Microsoft's other application and internet businesses. The 23-page order, this one right here, said, quote, Microsoft, as it is presently organized and led, is unwilling to accept the notion that it broke the law or accede to an order amending its conduct. Specifically, Jackson ordered Microsoft split into two companies for 10 years. Restrictions on Microsoft's business conduct will start in just 90 days. He also ordered Microsoft to provide greater access to its Windows source code, and he told Microsoft to submit its plan to comply with the breakup order within 4 months. If judgment is upheld, it would be the harshest antitrust penalty levied against the U.S. corporation since AT&T agreed to spin off the baby-built regional phone companies. That was in 1982. Jackson said the company could remain intact until the appeals process is exhausted. Microsoft has vowed to go all the way to the Supreme Court if necessary. And, of course, Danielle, there's that question still, will it bypass the appellate court? We don't know that yet.
That is the question of the day. Janet, thank you so much. Now, many of you are probably wondering how this breakup will affect you, consumer. Erica Hill here with more on that part of the story. Erica.
Danielle, a very important part it is. First, though, let's take a little recap. Let's remember what this ruling actually means. Now, of course, the company is being broken up into two. We'll have one company that will take care of the Windows operating system. Now, the other will take care of all the other applications. That's things like word processing, spreadsheets, and, of course, Internet Explorer. And while all the lawyers and analysts are trying to figure out what this actually means for future cases, for businesses, and for Wall Street, there are plenty of other people who are looking at what this means for the consumer. Basically, what we're hearing so far is that this really won't mean much. Two companies, not going to change a lot for the consumer, not yet anyway, and as we've heard, this could take a while. Earlier today, I spoke with Ken McEldown, who's actually the executive director of Consumer Action, and he had some thoughts about that.
It's really hard to sort of figure out exactly what the impact is going to be. But I think that certainly in the short run, I think that consumers are going to benefit by sort of more vigorous competition and the possibility of sort of more innovations in both the software and hardware markets.
Ken also made an interesting point about the vulnerability of Microsoft products, specifically the recent viruses targeting its Outlook email program.
They were a little sloppy in terms of security. That probably would not have been the case if there had been more open competition out there.
Now, he predicts that will change if the company is broken up.
And now I did say if the company is broken up because, Danielle, let's remember, as we've been talking about all day, a split isn't expected to actually happen 4 years. We expect this to be tied up in court for years, actually.
It sounds to me that consumer confidence is with Bill Gates. It sounds like, he's got the public confidence on his side. Is that what you're finding as well?
That's pretty much what I've been hearing, and a lot of that is because what we know as consumers is Microsoft. And maybe that's because of the monopoly created. Maybe it's just because people find that they like the product. But
we'll see where all of this goes. It's been a very busy day. We appreciate you sticking around for us and doing this. Thank you very much, Erica Hill. And we appreciate you watching this very special edition of ZDTV News. Please join us for another live broadcast at 5 o'clock this evening. Have a great afternoon.
Today on the Zip File, we're walking the net culture tightrope, juggling some high-tech toys, and checking out the .com sideshow. Honey, I'm telling you, it's a cyber circus. On today's ZDTV